Let's see here. Guys, we're going to talk about some college football. Talking the weekend. About as much as I can get in. Still studying a test. All right. Know how this sounds. Okay. Let's see how it sounds. All right. Let's take a look. See how I sound. Oh, I sound good. All right. Okay, everybody. Let's go ahead. Let me hit this, and we're good. Okay. So close that up. All right, guys. Welcome in, everybody. Today we're going to talk about basically my thoughts on the weekend, college football. Hold on just a second here, guys. Just a second. Something. Let me see here. Okay. It's working. All right. I know it's a little bit dark. I can turn on the light for you guys if you would like me to. All right. So here's the situation, guys. Got that much. Right. Okay. All right. Let's talk college football. Let's talk what happened this weekend. Obviously, this weekend was a big, big win for Cincinnati fans. Remember my video that I released on Saturday morning because I had recorded it Friday night. Basically, I said root for chaos, and that's what we got. We got the chaos that we needed. Basically, Purdue beating Michigan State was a big win. It's a big win for college football, okay? I hate to say that for Michigan State fans, but we needed that. If Michigan State had won, we would have seen no change. And really what helped Cincinnati this week is that all the top 6 teams in the country, no, not really, not Georgia, but all the other teams, all the other 2 through 6 all struggled, right? Alabama, which was favored to win by, I think, like 28 points, struggled to beat LSU. You also had this situation with Ohio State struggling with Nebraska. Oregon, which last week I said, even though I'm an Oregon fan, didn't feel like they should be the number 14 in the country. Actually, out of those 3 teams, won by the widest margin thanks to a late safety by Washington snapping the ball out of the end zone. So all the schools basically struggled. Michigan State obviously losing, and then Cincinnati having to rely on basically a fumble, which very lucky they didn't look at that on replay because that might have been a fumble. So for Cincinnati, that was good for them. It was a good weekend in that sense that one of the teams in front of them went down. Okay, so Michigan State has lost. Now you got to root for Michigan State to beat Ohio State. If you're a Cincinnati fan, you want Michigan State to beat Ohio State. Okay. Basically because you want a whole mess. Or what you really don't want is you don't want Ohio State still being up there kind of sniffing around the top 4, basically. You want them out of the picture. Problem is you got Michigan. So it's almost like you want Michigan State to beat Ohio State, and then Ohio State to beat Michigan, and then Michigan State goes to the Big Ten championship and has to play Purdue again, and Purdue beats them somehow. Purdue is like the giant killer when they're unranked. They can't get ranked, but they can win the games when they're not ranked against the top 25 teams. So that's one of the most interesting things about this college football playoff, this college football season. So let's talk about what we should expect to see tomorrow for the playoff rankings, because this is going to be key, guys. Cincinnati has to be ranked 5th. If Cincinnati does not move at all, I feel like that's setting it all up, right? It's setting it all up for they're going to just screw Cincinnati. Cincinnati has to be at least 5th. They have to at least have moved up, okay? They can't move Oklahoma ahead of Cincinnati just because of the game, because Oklahoma didn't play. I don't even think Michigan played. Or Michigan did play, yeah, they played Indiana. So if they jump Michigan over Cincinnati, I'm telling you right now, they're going to try to find a way to screw Cincinnati out of a playoff berth. Help that Wake Forest did lose as well. So two of the undefeated teams that were potential threats have lost. I think that means the ACC is not going to get someone in the playoffs, guys. Despite having NC State and Pitt ranked, Wake Forest losing like that, I think that's one Power 5 conference out of the window, out of the picture. So that helps again Cincinnati out. But we got to see where this ranking is, because if Cincinnati is at 6 still tomorrow, I'm really nervous for Cincy fans that they're going to try and find a way to screw you out of it. Okay. Remember, Oklahoma still has games against Baylor, Iowa State, and Oklahoma State, and then you still get Oklahoma State, which is playing games. They may try to find a way. But let's talk about the big elephant in the room. Last week, or on Friday, I mentioned that the reason Alabama was number 2 is because it's Alabama and perception and all this stuff. Well, you saw that perfectly on display. Alabama did not look good against LSU, right? And remember, this is an LSU team that at full strength went out west and got its butt whooped by UCLA, a Pac-12 school, which, by the way, everybody, myself included, jokes about the Pac-12, but right, they went out there and they lost, and then they hold Alabama to 20 points. There's some belief that if LSU had been full strength, LSU wins that game, and that would have been great for college football in the sense that it would have caused total chaos. But again, we talk about living off of reputation. That is what is happening with Alabama, these playoff rankings, and it's living also off of first impressions. Remember, they came out and they blasted. They just destroyed Miami. Because they destroyed Miami, it allowed them to get that perception that, oh, they've just reloaded. Here they go. They're going to take everyone. They're going to take control of this. That hasn't happened. And I think this is very important to understand. Alabama is not the Alabama team from last year, and the playoff committee is not treating them as that. The playoff committee is treating them as though they are the same team from. They're not. They're not as good offensively. They don't have Devontae Smith. They don't have the receivers that are making the plays like last year. And Bryce Young, for whatever reason, is struggling. Their offensive line is struggling. Again, not knocking the program, because it is a great program, but you have to treat each season as a different year. And I feel like that's one of the problems as well with this committee, is that sometimes they treat each season, excuse me again, shake my, this committee treats each season like it's something from the previous year. So I'm very curious. It should be Georgia 1. With the loss of Michigan State, I'd almost move Oregon up to 2. Again, not the prettiest of wins, but they did win by the widest margin. Ohio State 3, Alabama 4. Cincy 5. Michigan would be 6. 7 is Oklahoma. 8, Michigan State. 9, Notre Dame. 10, Oklahoma State. That would probably be my top 10 right there. So again, Cincinnati has to be rooting. Got to root for Georgia. And if Alabama plays the way they did against LSU, against Georgia in the SEC championship game, they're out. Like, there's just no chance. And they might not even get it because that Georgia defense is just so good. You got to root for them. You got to root for Michigan State versus Ohio State. You want Michigan State to upset Ohio State. Trust me. You just want that. You don't want to leave that up. You want to get as much of the bigger conferences knocking each other around so that you can at the end say, hey, look, we're undefeated. Yeah, we might not have played a Power 5 schedule, but look, they struggle with teams. We've struggled with teams. Where are we? We're undefeated. Oregon just has to keep winning. I don't know if they're even going to end up in the final saying. It all depends what happens with Ohio State. If Ohio State keeps going up, who knows what's going to happen, right? But we don't know. It's really important to understand that what's happening right now is we're not looking at how teams are playing. We do these rankings, and I feel like that's part of the problem. Is that the rankings are not taking into account how teams are playing. I said last time, Oregon should not have been fourth. The way they're playing is not great. Luckily for them, no one played great this weekend. Right? No one looked dominant. Mississippi State goes down, loses to Arkansas, so that's a ranked win that hurts Alabama. Again, Oregon only has one ranked win. That's against Ohio State. But, and I know I'm going to kind of give a pass to the Ducks on this game this week. Anybody who's ever coached or played in a rain storm like that knows that sometimes you just got to get through the muck. Passing game doesn't exist. You're just going to run the ball, things like that. But Anthony Brown could not play the way he did starting out, especially against better teams, against a team that actually has an offense. Washington doesn't have an offense. They fired their OC yesterday after that game. If not for the ineptitude of Washington's offense, that game could have been an upset for the Huskies. So, hoping tomorrow the committee does not have Alabama at number 2. That's all I'm going to say. But they will. I think that they're going to do is they're just going to move Oregon and Ohio State up. Again, Cincinnati has to be number 5. If Cincinnati does not move after this weekend, despite struggling, all the other schools, basically 8 that played, struggled. 2 of them lost. If Cincinnati doesn't move up, they're going to be in trouble. And I just believe that with my heart. That the committee's maybe trying to find a way to justify not putting him. I know Natty doesn't want to hear that. Nasty Natty Gaming on Twitch doesn't want to hear that. He's a big Cincinnati fan. But the first week where I said, hey, there's got to be some chaos, we get the chaos, right? We get 2 big upsets. So it could happen still. Alabama has not looked the same. They don't have the same coaching staff. That's one of the problems. It's not the same coaching staff. It ain't Steve Sarkisian calling the plays for this offense this year. And you've seen the mess that's going on with the team. And it's just not the same quarterback, right? It's a young quarterback, young line. The next couple weeks are going to show as well what's going on with Alabama. Well, not next week. I think next week they got a FCS school. I can't remember. FCS school. But Alabama situation with them. But if you got to root for Big 10 teams to lose. You need a mess at the top. You need Ohio State to lose to Michigan State, in my opinion. You need Michigan to lose to Ohio State, and you need a Big 10 West team to win the Big 10. Exactly, Carson. I'm going to tell you right now, if Cincinnati doesn't move up tomorrow, I don't know. I don't know. I kind of said it on Friday that they were setting it up with Wake Forest and Oklahoma being at 8th and 9th, and they had some ACC schools ranked. Well, the ACC, I think, is now out of this. with the loss of Wake Forest. So that's one Power 5 conference that will help you out. Alabama does not look good enough to challenge Georgia right now. But you never know with good old St. Nick. That man can somehow do games, pull things out of his butt, motivate his team. And it may be that his team played down to LSU, which was injured. They thought they had the game in the bag. We're going to see, he's going to be on their butts in practice, motivating, calling them out, working hard on them. That's what he's going to do. But right now, Alabama's not the number 2 team in the country. That's the bias, right? They're basing it off of, well, they've recruited highly, and that game at the start of the season, Miami. That game at the start of the season for Miami kind of gave an impression, right? We always have an impression as the season goes along, right? Everybody always goes back to when they first played a game. Well, your team lost to this team. Yeah, that was the first part of the season. It's like everybody forgets what happened in 2014, the first year of the playoff, right? I remember, I'm the Ducks fan. It was like, yeah, we should want Ohio State because Ohio State's easier because they lost to Virginia Tech, and then Ohio State comes in, and who wins the national championship? Ohio State, because they got better as the season went along. I feel like lately that's not what's been happening with this committee. This committee's not evaluating teams based on how they're playing. Just we're looking at this, and again, Joel Klatt brings it up perfectly. There's bias in the data. You only have 13 people making a decision, and because there's only 13 people, you don't have enough data points to really reach the average that you need. That will show. Dark Devil God, how you doing? Welcome in on Twitch. We're just talking some college football, what to expect for tomorrow, what I hope to see, and I'm hoping to see. My opinion, what I would do is I put Georgia 1. I'd put Oregon at 2 just because Oregon was the 4th ranked team. But remember, they beat Washington. I don't know. It probably could be Ohio State 2, Oregon 3, Alabama 4. I know I said earlier Oregon 2, Ohio State 3, but all 3 of those teams really struggled. Because they struggled, it's kind of one of those things, but ironically, Oregon had the highest margin of victory out of those 3 schools. Cincinnati has to be 5th, guys. Again, I'm going to read it. Cincinnati has to be 5th. If they don't move up, I would get nervous as a Cincy fan because they're going to try to find a way to screw you out of it. And that's when you start being a Georgia fan, you start being a Michigan State fan, you start being a Michigan State fan when they're playing Ohio State, and then when Ohio State's playing Michigan, you're a fan of Ohio State. You're a fan of somebody, Iowa State, pulling the upset on Oklahoma. You need Iowa State to pull the upset on Oklahoma. You just need some big things to happen, some mess. And really, Oregon, even though Oregon's ranked in the top 4, they could still get knocked out because the Pac-12 just doesn't have the strength, right? By the way, guys, you want to understand why Pac-12 fans get so frustrated. I know all the other conferences talk about how they have horrible refs. So Oregon, in the first drive of their game against Washington, they throw a pass. It hits the ground first, let's be honest. But they call it a completed pass, so it's 2nd and 1. Oregon comes up. They're not even rushing to the line, guys. They just go normally up to the line. Okay, ball the play, run the play, first down. The refs then stop the game and go, we're going to go back and look at the prior play. Even the announcers are confused, saying, wait, what? They can't do that. The play's been run. You didn't call it. There was no whistle. They're not saying before the play was run. They didn't say any of that. They were trying to go. So a play had been run, and then they were trying to go back. So they go look, and they go, and this is what they legitimately say. After review, there was no review because a play had already been run. That is the epitome of Pac-12 refs. I know the SEC refs screwed up at Penn State and only had 3 downs. This is a consistent theme when you're playing in the Pac-12. Is there refs doing stuff like that, and you're going, how can you not do the basics of a game every game? So, could you imagine if Oregon had lost a game, that had been a major thing? Imagine if that was going for a game-winning play, right? Or you think you've got to stop. Well, we couldn't check it because we didn't bother to check it before, but now we're going to check. Okay, just That's Pac-12 football. All right, guys. Let's see what tomorrow is. We'll do a video reacting to the rankings again. I'm hoping that what we get is we get a good showing for Cincinnati, right? Cincinnati, if they have the hope, they need the hope. They gotta be hoping that they get moved up. Remember, Oklahoma didn't play. If Oklahoma somehow or Michigan jumps over them, that's bad news. By the way, guys, we do have Go Cupcakes hoodies. This is a Go Cupcakes hoodie. We're doing the Cupcake Academy Dynasty. Dark Devil God's getting antsy for me to do the national championship. Since he has to stop struggling, but you have to remember this past weekend everybody struggled. Everybody, 2 through 8, all struggled. Yeah, 2 through 9 even, right? Alabama struggled, Ohio State struggled, Oregon struggled. Only one that really wasn't was Michigan, and Oklahoma didn't play. No. Alabama cannot get in with 2 wins. If they do that, you may as well just end the college football playoff right there. And I just don't see it happening. This Alabama team is not the same Alabama team as last year's team. You saw it against LSU. They may be up, but I think unless there's some major injuries on Georgia's front line, I don't think their offensive line is going to be able to handle that Georgia team. And also, guys, the play calling's different. That's one thing, right? It's Bill O'Brien who's the OC. It's not Steve Sarkisian. I don't see some of the creativeness that you saw with Sarkisian under Bill, and the line blocking. Like, I'm watching some of the schemes. Like, are you not teaching your quarterback? Hey, looks like there's a blitz here. Let me shift my line. They're sliding away from a blitz. Like, the quarterback should be allowed to say, hey, line, telling his line to slide to the left, but he's not getting that. So, or Liz, whatever you want to call it, something that starts with an L, and it's not happening. You saw it against Texas A&M. I remember they lost to a backup quarterback. This is going to be this Georgia team is playing out of its mind on defense. I think if they put Alabama in with 2 losses, they may as well just end it. Just end the playoff, because everyone's going to go, well, what's the point of playing games? You're just going based off of rankings, right? Again, it was great for Cincinnati that everybody struggled. Like I said, Ohio State, Alabama, Oregon all struggle. Wake Forest lost, and Michigan State lost. So if you're a Cincy fan, you need to root for chaos. So Carson, if you're rooting for Cincy, you got to root for chaos. You need Michigan State to upset Ohio State. And then if you want Ohio State to beat Michigan, and you really want chaos, you want Oklahoma State to beat Oklahoma. You really want Iowa State to beat Oklahoma. That's a better, type of a loss. Stay undefeated. But yeah, Cincinnati also has to start dominating. They need to stop leaving the teams that they're playing in games. They need to go out there and beat the living hell out of somebody. Okay, because the narrative is now starting to be, yeah, they're undefeated, but they're struggling with these bad teams. You don't want that narrative. Okay, remember, narratives are everything. That's why Alabama's ranked 2, guys. It's all because of a narrative. Well, look what they did to Miami, so they must be really great. Okay? Again, the narratives run a lot of things. Nick Saban has a great team, but I don't think they're the number 2 team. So, as I was mentioned, these are the cupcake hoodies. Go Cupcakes. We are doing our Cupcake Dynasty. The Cupcakes are in the National Championship. If you've not been around, I have to get videos up for you guys. But we have Go Cupcakes. This is Frosty the Cupcake. That's what I'm saying is you got to take into account every game. You can't just take account some games. But what I mean, Dark Devil, is your first impressions always count. It's the way it's always been lately. Is they always look at the first games, right? Washington goes and plays Auburn. They lose to Auburn. Well, they're just sucky. Never mind that Washington goes and wins the rest of their games a couple years ago. Everyone's like, well, no, they just suck. They lost one game. It was the first game of the season. They had to travel 3,000 miles. Okay, so don't get me started on the whole having to travel 3,000 miles to play a neutral site game thing. I think that's total BS as well. But it's the situation we're found in because the Pac-12 has decided to screw themselves multiple times. Guys, we're going to end right there with this thing, with this whole thing. I just wanted to do a breakdown talking about what I expected. First things first, we got the chaos that we needed, right? So in summary, we got the things that we wanted. Chaos. Stupendous! Stupendous with the subscription on Twitch! How you doing, Stu? Thank you very much for the subscription. Appreciate it. Look at Stu. These are actually pretty warm. The arm's a little tighter than I would like. This is a pretty warm time. This is a pretty warm hoodie. I'm not gonna lie. I'm kind of sweating in it. I'm like, whew. Well, it will keep you warm if you go outside in it. It's toasty. Exactly right. It's toasty. So to summarize, got the chaos we needed. We got two undefeated teams to lose. Want Cincy in the playoff. If you're wanting a G5 team in the playoff, you're gonna have to have it. 2, we got to see where Cincinnati ends up. Do they end up at 5th at least? If they end up at 5th, they got a chance. It means that they're at least being able to move up because everything will take care of itself. If they don't end up at 5th tomorrow, I'm afraid that the committee is going to try and find a way to screw them. I'm just going to be blunt about that. And finally, I just lost my train of thought on that. Third thing. There was a third thing. There was a third thing, and I just forgot it. I hadn't talked about it, but was something that I did want to mention. Oh well. By the way, guys, cupcakes. We'll come back to it. I apologize, guys. This global economics class that I'm taking is just breaking my brain. It's a lot of stuff. Ooh, sweet. Post it in the Discord, Dark Devil. Post your playoff bracket. Post that. I'll take a look at it. But guys, I appreciate y'all being here. Appreciate the subs, Stu. Appreciate you, Dark Devil and Stupendous, being here on Twitch. Carson being on YouTube. This is going to stay up on YouTube with my beliefs, my thoughts. Just wanted to do this briefly, guys. So we're going to look at it tomorrow. We're going to see where the committee is, what they're thinking. Because right now I'm nervous for Cincy, and I'm hoping that they end up in 5th. At least 5th, guys. So, still ranked in the top 100? Nice. Nice. All right, everybody. We're going to end that right there. Thank you for being here. If you're on YouTube, make sure to leave a like. If you're seeing this and you're wanting to see more and talk about this stuff, make sure to subscribe. Dark Devil God, you're 74th in the country. That's 74th in the country or in the state? Oh wait, you're in state. Nice, nice. Well, it's playoff time in the state of Georgia in high school football. Time to go get some dubs. All right, guys, we'll see you later. Hopefully, we can do the Cupcakes National Championship later this week, guys. I appreciate y'all being here. We'll see you all later. Have a good rest of your night. And, as always, go Cupcakes.